The National Desk, America's News, now.
I wanted to be here myself to call out what is a travesty of justice.
Trump's allies head to New York as the criminal prosecution continues what former fixer Michael Cohen said today when he was challenged by the defense. Then the FBI is warning about specific threats that may be coming to the U.S. next month, why a certain day is on their watch list. As bankruptcy rumors swirl, Red Lobster announces major restaurant closings across the country. Just how severe will the restructuring be? This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David, and breaking as we come on the air, 8 people are dead with a possibly rising death toll. And we just learned that the driver of a Ford Ranger truck in north central Florida, where this happened, has just been arrested for DUI manslaughter. Now, early this morning, that truck collided with a bus carrying 53 migrant workers. According to a Florida Highway Patrol, the crash occurred along Florida State Road 40 around 6:30 in the morning in Marion County. Incredible images of this horrific collision. The bus drove right off the roadway through a fence and then flipped over. Roughly 40 people are in the hospital tonight. The Florida Highway Patrol believes, given their serious conditions, that there will be more fatalities in the future. And stay with us on air and online as we continue to track the latest and bring you the developments just as soon as we get them. More severe weather is forecast in the south tonight. Showers, thunderstorms, large hail, flooding, and damaging winds could hit the Tennessee Valley and also parts of Florida. Tornadoes are possible as well. And this comes after at least 2 people died from weather-related causes in Louisiana last night. Tornadoes, hail, and flash flooding impacted southern states, leaving more than 100,000 people still without power this morning. Former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, he faced Donald Trump's lawyers in cross-examination today in what some were calling a heated back and forth. The defense tried to show Cohen has repeatedly called for Trump to be put in jail and has a personal vendetta against his former boss. Cohen testified he gave deceptive answers to the FBI in an effort to protect Trump. He also said his opinion of Trump changed in 2018. Cohen will be back on the stand on Thursday as the defense finishes their cross-examination. Allies of former President Trump in Congress continuing to show up and speak out at Trump's criminal hush money trial. Former presidential contenders were among those in New York today, and they came along with House Speaker Mike Johnson. They've all called this trial a sham and a political prosecution, and they're speaking out against witness Michael Cohen for Trump because they say he is not permitted to do so himself.
This is a man who is clearly on a mission for personal revenge and who is widely known as a witness who has trouble with the truth. They have placed a ridiculous and unprecedented gag order on President Trump. They were overriding his constitutional right to defend himself from political smears from his harshest critics at the most important time.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump's gag order will remain in place. So far, Trump has been found to have violated that order at least 10 times, and he's been fined $1,000 for each infraction. Judge Merchan has threatened jail time for Trump if he violates the order again. With Pride Month coming up, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security are warning about an increased risk of violence from terrorist groups, especially on June 12th. That's the 8th anniversary of the deadly Pulse nightclub shooting, which drew support from people with terrorist ties. They say the risk is on top of the already heightened threat here and in other Western countries. Transgender medical care, especially for minors, remains one of the most controversial topics in the medical field today. Some countries are pressing the pause button as they wait for more evidence on the long-term impacts of the procedures and drugs. Here's national correspondent Kayla Gaskins.
There's a shift underway in Europe to restrict medical gender-affirming care for children and teens. England and Scotland joining Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, drastically limiting things like puberty blockers as concerns mount over the effectiveness, safety, and long-term impacts of these often irreversible treatments. As Europe pumps the brakes, America still pushing full steam ahead. The Daily Caller Foundation digging into pediatric transgender care in the U.S., obtaining 30 hours of training videos from WPATH, the leading entity doctors look to for guidance on trans care.
I think it's important that people understand how influential an organization like WPATH is. WPATH is such a significant influence all the way down to your local pediatrician's office.
The training videos include acknowledgments about negative side effects of treatments.
We talk about puberty suppression as reversible, okay? I'm adding an asterisk to it. There's challenges with puberty suppression that we have to acknowledge.
There was several doctors who spoke about some of the unknowns around giving kids puberty blockers, such as the impact on brain development, the impact on fertility, the potential impact on a loss of bone density.
Videos also include a downplaying for evidence-based data when it comes to transgender care.
Evidence is one part of this, but also there's an ethical human rights component to treating people, right? We don't rely on evidence for every single treatment we do in medicine.
Some doctors seem to brush off the seriousness of these treatments when discussing consent of those with mental health struggles. One doctor compared gender reassignment to getting wisdom teeth pulled.
I would probably frame it, are they mentally stable to go for wisdom tooth extraction right now? Like
no, that's very helpful. The idea of
an elective surgery.
That was Kayla Gaskins reporting. Attacks on law enforcement went up in 2023 to a 10-year high, although deaths for police officers in the line of duty went down. This is according to an FBI report of agencies around the country. The FBI concluded that deaths by assault have been in decline since a high of 73 in 2021. But the last 3 years remain the highest death count for any three-year period over the last 2 decades. So far in 2024, at least 25 officers have been killed by assault, including 21 by gunfire. That's according to the Officer Down Memorial page. Boeing's financial troubles, they continue. The company reporting today that its orders fell last month and were outnumbered by canceled sales. Deliveries of new Boeing jetliners were low at 24 in April as the company falls further behind its European competitor Airbus. The FAA is restricting production of Boeing 737 MAX jets while the airline works to improve quality. The House Oversight Committee has released their charges for holding Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress in a 17-page report. The committee says Garland withheld subpoenaed audio tapes of former special prosecutors questioning of President Joe Biden without invoking constitutional or legal privilege. The committee is set to vote on the charges on Thursday, even if held in contempt. The decision to prosecute Garland lies within his own office. Another 27 potential jurors were excused today during selection in Senator Bob Menendez's federal corruption trial after no jurors were seated yesterday. Nearly 40 candidates were excused on Monday from the Manhattan courtroom for various reasons, including knowing too much about the charges against the senator. The New Jersey Democrat is indicted for taking part in a bribery scheme to help foreign governments interfere with criminal cases and make himself richer. Menendez has pleaded not guilty. A third person with connections to the bribery case against Congressman Henry Cuellar has pled guilty. The Texas Democrat is being accused of taking nearly $600,000 in bribes from Azerbaijan. According to the Texas Tribune, another person says she unlawfully acted as an agent of Azerbaijan, a violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act. She admits to helping give a $60,000 payment to Cuellar's wife, who is also indicted. The Cuellars both say they are innocent. Coming up, we have a brand new snapshot of the U.S. economy from numbers out today, what they indicate about future interest rates, then the impact that faith can have on healing, according to a revealing new study. Plus, what happened when a Texas woman got a water bill of almost $1 million? We'll tell you when we come back. President Biden is raising tariffs on a laundry list of Chinese imports on everything from electric cars to solar cells to semiconductors and advanced batteries. That announcement at the White House today, calling the new tax on imports a means of protecting American industries from what Biden calls unfair Beijing subsidies.
The fact is, American workers can outwork and outcompete anyone as long as the competition is fair. But for too long, it hasn't been fair. For years, the Chinese government has poured state money into Chinese companies across a whole range of industries.
Biden is also maintaining Trump-era tariffs on more than $300 billion worth of Chinese goods. Biden has criticized them during the 2020 campaign as a tax on Americans. New numbers out today could give us a picture of what to expect from the U.S. economy as we head deeper into the summer. The producer price index for the month of April showed a 0.5 percentage point rise, costs likely to be passed on to the United States. Here's national correspondent Christine Frizzell with what we're learning.
It's a game of numbers. No one seems to be winning. The brand new Producer Price Index, which shows how much manufacturers pay their suppliers, just hit its highest rate in a year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
And what this indicates is that a lot of the progress that we've seen in slowing inflation, that stalled in early 2024.
Known as wholesale inflation, the April rate rose 2.2%, with costs expected to be passed on to consumers in the months ahead, following 3 months of less than ideal numbers.
We did not expect this to be a smooth road, but these were higher than I think anybody expected.
Speaking in Amsterdam, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell signaled the waiting game for interest rates to be cut will likely go on even longer.
I don't think that it's likely, based on the data that we have, that the next move that we make would be a rate hike. I think it's more likely that we'll be at a place where we hold the policy rate where it is.
Words like sticky and stubborn, now common ways to characterize what's known as services inflation with what we pay for things like medical care, car repairs, and travel. Another worrying sign is what Americans owe on housing and non-housing expenses, known as household debt, which has been on a steady climb, just reaching $17.7 trillion. The labor market is still incredibly tight, with a shortage of workers, but many of those who are working still struggle to make ends meet.
The cost of living in many areas is very high, and it is a concern to Americans. And it is President Biden's top priority to do all he can to bring down the cost of living.
And we will have an even clearer picture of inflation on Wednesday with the release of the Consumer Price Index, which is what U.S. consumers pay for everyday goods and services. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National Desk.
Walmart is planning to cut hundreds of corporate jobs and relocate most of its remote workforce based in the United States and Canada. Most of these employees will move to the Arkansas headquarters, while some will move to offices in California or New Jersey. Walmart said the goal is to strengthen company culture and career development. Remote workers have until July 1st to decide whether to relocate or quit with severance, according to Reuters. And in Gaza, troop movement suggesting Israel could expand operations into Rafah any day now. The IDF's entrance into the city, highly contentious, coming with global pushback from the Biden administration, who has long warned Israel against it over concerns mounting that it will bring more casualties and destruction to the already devastated enclave. Israel has remained defiant and committed to rooting out what it says are embedded Hamas militants. Now, in that ongoing evacuation taking place, we do know the amount of people that have thus far evacuated at 450,000, forced to flee the area since May 6th, ahead of that anticipated expanded ground assault. Many of them now returning to their homes in other parts of the South, finding them completely leveled after heavy combat. Meantime, in central Gaza, a hospital spokesperson in the Hamas-run enclave telling CNN that an Israeli strike hit a residential building, killing at least a dozen people. I do want to warn you, these images are disturbing, and you can see families just trapped under the rubble there. The IDF has yet to respond to questions over what they were targeting, but has expressed concerns that Hamas is reassembling in parts of Gaza that they previously claimed to have cleared. The resumption in hostilities coming as talks aimed at reaching a ceasefire for hostages that has stalled, both sides blaming the other for the stalemate. The Air Force has started criminal action against the Pentagon leaker. 22-year-old Jack Teixeira, a former member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard, appeared at a hearing today. He's accused of obstructing justice and failing to obey orders. Teixeira was convicted in federal court earlier this year of leaking classified government secrets online. He faces more than 16 years in prison, and if convicted by the military, he could face even more. San Francisco could soon be the first city in the U.S. to ban forever chemicals in firefighter clothing. Local lawmakers were set to vote today on a measure prohibiting PFAS in their protective gear. These chemicals have been linked to health problems like cancer. They've been mostly phased out of manufacturing in the country. The city's fire department would have until June of 2026 to buy new uniforms. Red Lobster is closing at least 99 locations and auctioning off their equipment. That's around 15% of the seafood chain's approximately 700 restaurants. States getting hit the hardest include California, Florida, Maryland, and Colorado. The company has had problems with debt, lease terms, turnover, and its strategy. Last month, Red Lobster was looking for a buyer to avoid filing for bankruptcy, but as far as we know, has not found one. Record-breaking basketball star Caitlin Clark. She begins her WNBA career with the Indiana Fever in just over an hour. The team will play the Connecticut Sun in Uncasville, Connecticut at 7:30 in that arena. And she's going to be there along with Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston. Now, if you want to improve your health or even break a bad habit, a recent report says your faith may help you in healing. Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains how.
Hey there, everybody. A recent report from the National Institutes of Health shows you can maintain well-being by putting faith into practice. Those who've done this say it really makes a difference in even the small stuff, such as our health habits.
Casey Bryant, a wife, mother, and pastor of Kentucky's Florence Crossroads Church, says there's something about surrender to the God you believe in, even when it comes to everyday health choices. In her case, it was snacking.
I just very simply just ask him. I say, God, I'm just handing everything over to you. I'm handing over my concerns, especially my concerns with my weight.
This NIH report, which looked at maintaining well-being in the pandemic, says the very act of having any faith and putting it into practice can keep you from getting sick. It also reduces anxiety and fear, which may be the very thing driving you to a hard habit to break. For Casey, that meant finding time to fit in fitness and asking for very specific support to maintain healthy eating habits. Her prayer?
God, I just ask that you come into it. Help me to not want to eat chips and dip. I mean, as simple as that sounds, I literally have to say, just help me not crave those things. Help me get motivated to work out. And it's just a simple prayer like that.
The NIH report backs up what Casey also found to be true. Closeness to something spiritual frees up a part of the brain you likely need for physical wellness.
When we're able to surrender our wants and our needs over to God, it gives us freedom, and he shows up in some incredible ways.
This busy mom said it's made a healthy difference. In just 5 months,
I have lost 11 pounds.
Her advice now? Let go. And you might be surprised how something divine really can help you sweat the small stuff.
Casey's services are online nationwide if you'd like to hear more of her inspiration. She also says any health journey takes time, so it's okay to ask for patience, too. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Liz, thank you. And coming up, caught on video, what happened after a cougar ran into the backyard of a Washington family and their pets. We'll be right back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America.
There's so many things going on. I had to watch it over and over to see everyone's reaction.
In this close encounter of a cougar kind, first came fixation, then fear, then a frantic getaway.
I think it was just as shocked by seeing us as we were shocked by seeing it.
The initial indication of trouble came with the Havener family's 2 cats spotting a much bigger one of their own. They bolted for safety, leading to quite the commotion.
It took me a few seconds to realize this is very large. It's a cougar.
Just feet away, the Havener's young daughter was the first to escape. Then came April, carrying the newest member of the family.
A boy.
A 2-month-old puppy was just a foot away from this most unexpected guest.
My heart just started pounding, and then I thought it was funny because I knew it was a mistake. But when I couldn't get it fixed, it wasn't funny anymore.
Vickery said she called the city of Abilene multiple times to get the outrageous water bill fixed, but they told her there was nothing they could do. The $900,000 bill hit her account, sending her into overdraft for over $800,000. According to Vickery, her bank reversed the charges within 2 days, and then days later, she heard from Abilene's city manager.
Robert Hanna, the city manager, called me on Saturday, of all times, and he was so nice and explained that they have this new system.
As Rhode Island works to reduce its carbon emissions to net zero by 2050, companies like Verizon are doing their part to help out. Today, the company unveiled a fleet of entirely electric vehicles at its Smithfield garage.
The location here is conducive to the charging systems, and we have a very condensed service area here, so Smithfield just made sense.
The vans and trucks are part of Verizon's goal to cut their emissions to net zero by 2035.
About a $4.4 million investment. We've got 40 Ford E-Transit vans here. We've got 5 Ford Lightning pickup trucks here, and then there's the 25 dual-port chargers.
Coming up, history being made at the Westminster Dog Show, the dog that became an unexpected champion. We'll tell you on the other side. Step aside pure breeds. A mixed breed dog has become the first to win the Westminster Dog Show's agility competition. A Maryland dog named Nimble took home major titles at the 148th show. And look at this, with a time of 28.7 seconds, he took the competition by storm, becoming the All-American champion, just going so fast you can hardly keep up with your eyes. That is not in fast forward. That is real time. Pretty incredible. Bravo to nimble. And most 18-year-olds are graduating with a high school degree, but one Chicago 18-year-old just pocketed her doctorate. That's right. Dr. Dorothy Jean Tillman II was only 10 years old when she became a freshman at the College of Lake County in Illinois. In 2020, she earned her Master of Science degree. And in 2021, at the age of 15, she was accepted into the Doctor of Behavioral Health Management program at Arizona State University. And this month, the teen prodigy became the youngest in history to earn that coveted title in the psychology field. And Dr. Dorothy just has such a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Congratulations to her. And that does it for this edition of the National Desk. We do invite you to join us again this evening for more coverage on America's top stories. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.